Hollowbody brings old-school horror inspirations and pairs it with a wonderfully ambient dystopian near-future setting. It's impressively done, especially considering that it's being solo developed and published by Headwear Games. Welcome everyone, StealthyShiroean here, and today I'm taking a first look at Hollowbody from the Steam Next Fest. Every day of the event, I plan to cover a new game so that hopefully you could find something cool to add to your wishlist, and maybe even get a chance to play the demo for yourself. Alright, let's get to it. As mentioned, Hollowbody seeks to create a game inspired from old-school horror titles like the original Resident Evil and Silent Hill games, and that holds especially true to the aesthetic using a very nostalgic PS1 or 2 era look. This might be a turnoff for some, but it should appeal to fans of these inspirations. Personally, I thought the muddy textures did a great job conveying this dark dystopian world, along with adding an extra layer of creepy to the visuals. Audio-wise, Hollowbody uses ambient tracks to not distract the player and to keep the mood. Some faster tracks are used to elevate tension in high-risk situations, but for the most part it's there as another layer of creepy ambience to make players feel like there's always something around that next corner. The game also features voice acting, which really surprised me given the solo nature of the project. And even more surprising is that the voice work is really well done. It helps to bring some more polish and provide some unsettling emotion to certain scenes. Overall, the game does a great job to set the tone and keep the players properly immersed.
Is anyone there?
You don't belong here. Should have stayed where it's warm. Like little sparrow.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Patience, baby bird. You've barely spread your wings.
How is this line still active?
Some things you refuse to deny.
Why are you talking like that?
The story wasn't entirely clear from the demo, as the developer stated that some of the story bits were cut out to presumably get the player to the gameplay and not give away everything. But what I gathered from what I learned in-game along with the story page is that you're playing as Mika, who is a black market shipper trying to find her missing companion in an area known as the Exclusion Zone. From the notes and environmental storytelling, some really bad things happen, so crash landing a flying car here maybe wasn't the best thing that could have happened to Mika. Now she needs to find a way to survive the horrors in this dilapidated British city, while also trying to find her partner, Sasha. The setting really sets this apart because I think it's rather rare to find a horror game set in the near future. It seemed intriguing from what I could piece together, and I hope that the story overall utilizes its setting for the story, rather than solely being a backdrop. First and foremost, when it comes to the gameplay, you have to be a person that understands where this game is coming from, which means that camera control is basically non-existent. The camera changes dynamically based on where you're walking, and it might take some getting used to, like it did for me. This design choice for the camera can work to great effect to accentuate certain moments or environmental objects that the game wants players to notice. At other times, it could be a bit annoying when I just want the camera to rotate faster so that I could scan the room, or more importantly, turn to face the monster on my tail. Luckily, combat is fairly slow-paced, at least with this hour demo. There was never really a time when I felt overwhelmed by enemies, and I thought that the combat was straightforward. Whether you're using a gun or a melee weapon, it will lock onto enemies and you just swing or shoot until the thing is dead. The gun obviously keeps the enemies at well more than an arm's reach, but I found that shooting seems to be really ineffective and wasted a lot of ammunition. Also, I'm not entirely sure, but I think it did attract other enemies at one point, so sound may alert them. Which means that the melee weapon, which was a nailed board, was a much better choice. There didn't seem to be any stamina to worry about, so I could swing away to my heart's content as long as I correctly gauged the distance between me and the enemy along with the animation timing of the attack. This wasn't hard to do, and I found myself not even using the gun at all for the last few enemies. I was playing on the normal intended difficulty, but maybe this might be a sign to play it on hardest for a challenge. That said, the other part of this game is progressing the story through environmental puzzles. I collected an assortment of items that I needed to use to gain access to new areas, and I had some puzzles presented to me that I needed to figure out. A lot of these seem largely self-explanatory, but the one section to open up a safe, I had to just guess. I knew it had something to do with a deceased tenant's graduating year, but I found nothing stating when that was, or at least I don't think I did. Instead, I just remembered that the game was set in 2063 and worked it back from that, which I'm unsure if this was the developer's intent or not. Before I jump into my final thoughts, please consider giving this video a like if you enjoyed it, as that helps me out greatly with the YouTube algorithm gods. I put in just over an hour with the Hollowbody demo and really enjoyed it. The hour really did enough to show players exactly what kind of game it is and set the mood perfectly. And this is coming from someone who never really played the original Resident Evil or Silent Hill games, so if it looks interesting to you as a horror game fan, then give it a try. That said, the one thing I would pitch the developer is to maybe tighten up the camera just a bit. I'm definitely not advocating for giving players free reign of the camera because I really like this design decision. I just think sometimes the camera doesn't rotate or pan exactly when it should at times. Actually, a couple times the camera never changed focus at all, which made it slightly difficult to find the transition point for the camera to move. To any looking to play this, well, you could try out the demo. Given that there was a previous demo up at an earlier time, maybe the developer will decide to keep this one up after Next Fest is over. Otherwise, as far as I can tell, the developer hasn't disclosed when Hollowbody might be finished, so of course, add it to your wishlist if you find it interesting. If you do play the demo, then let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. And if you haven't, then let me know if it looks like something you'd be interested in, or if you have any other questions. I'll be continuing to give more coverage on games in Next Fest as the week progresses. I hope this video helped you in some small way, and if it did, then please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, or whatever it is you feel like doing. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.